the mid-18th century, the city of Edo, now known as Tokyo, was the world's largest city, brimming with over 1 million people and bursting with a culture of creativity, a city striving to improve itself and its society. The book Edo, The Ingenuity of the Common People by Hideshi Takamas explores this Edo culture and will be the jumping off point from what we are exploring today. The period of Edo sits within a context of peace and prosperity, spanning 1603 to 1868. When coming to power at the beginning of this period, its chief military commander, the shogun Ieyasu Tokugawa, set about constructing a capital that embodied political and militaristic might. It would eventually get its name Tokyo, meaning Eastern Capital, when, spoiler alert, the Tokugawa shogunate fell and a new national government established itself. There are actually no laws that mandate Tokyo as the capital, and therefore Kyoto is still the official national capital of Japan, and as cultural and historical hubs often do. The story of Edo starts with humble beginnings, a fishing village that grew in a preposterous way to the world's most populous city. It was a great undertaking. It was prosperous during the Warring States period at the end of the 16th century, and trade flourished, being a receptor for ships from China and Southeast Asia. When Ieyasu Tokugawa came to control Edo, its castle was in shambolic states. However, he insisted that developing the city must come first, with the aim of filling the sea near Edo Castle and creating a landfill area. This was more motivated by self-preservation than philanthropy, with Ieyasu wanting to make Edo the centre for government, but was fearful that the land could be used to stage an uprising, and so he preferred to create the centre of the city off the shoreland. This land reclamation project was no joke, literally moving the land off mountains to raise areas like Kasumigaseki, now the seat of the Japanese government, from submarine depths to an unrecognisable district. With the aim of building a castle city in mind, Ieyasu set about building physical defences. Usually a castle city would be enclosed by stone walls and moats in concentric rings, but Edo Castle excavated moats in a spiral formation, providing enhanced defensive and transportation benefits. This spiral design informed social mobility, without the physical barriers of concentric defences. The city and its classes were more integrated, with religious institutions, samurai families, and the townspeople now living shoulder to shoulder. This allowed potentially hostile lords to be more carefully controlled, allowing the local samurai to keep an eye on the townsfolk and maintain the peace, and the local townspeople, in turn, the merchants and artisans, bringing with them a sense of creativity and style unique to Edo, despite the culture of strict feudalism. Within this context, the visual arts flourished, birthing works like the floating islands and the rise of kabuki culture. Relics from this time are imprinted on the district, such as Gina. Inhabited by merchants and purveyors of the performing arts, with narrow streets and impossibly high buildings, the plots of land and its boundaries are still the same as in days of old. Embedded in this pragmatic approach to the planning of Edo was principles of mysticism and philanthropy. Concepts of yin and yang and feng shui had long been part of the urban design since ancient times, and it was again employed to attempt to safeguard the city from natural disasters and political unrest. Designers looked to Kyoto for inspiration, with its iconic Enrakoji temple overlooking the city from Mount High. To the north of the Edo castle, the Kaniji temple was erected to draw in energy from the east. Ponds were built to evoke prosperity from the water goddesses, and cherry trees were brought specially from Mount Yoshini in Nara to the Unino hills. As if to balance out these good vibes, the shogunate funded much of this through careful and strategic coercion. With peace in mind, it was mandated that feudal clans must come and live in Edo for 1 year before returning to their domains. This forced feudal leaders to pay for expensive accommodation for themselves and their entourage. Feudal clans who did not spend the money faced the embarrassment of being labelled as stingy. Around this, an entire industry was born, with Ieyasu forcing up the number of merchants so that there was a minimum to serve clan members, their wives and children. Not only did this fund critical infrastructure projects like roads and bridges, but also enabled a culture and entertainment businesses to flourish. Playhouses and pleasure quarters were erected. Eating and drinking houses grew, and the number of merchants for merchants grew, meaning that the population of Edo grew to be the world's most populated city of 1 million people, overtaking London and Paris. Edo was mainly built from wood, interior sliding doors from wood and paper, and its roofs hatched. It was practically a city built from kindling. It is said that Edo was a city of fire and fights, and in 1657 the inevitable happened. A devastating fire raged the city, killing over 100,000 people and destroying the castle. Under the restoration plan, a new leaf was turned, with leaders deciding not to rebuild the castle as a structure that symbolises battle is unnecessary in a land of peace. The money should be used to help the people instead. This was an unusual approach for a militaristic and feudalistic regime, who, in reality, likely couldn't afford it anyway. But it paid off. To make Edo a city focused on disaster prevention, the shrines where the fires began were moved away from the city and the red light district was relocated to rural localities. Straw roofs were replaced with tiles and oyster shells. The mansions of feudal lords were fragmented and moved to different regions, and Tokyo, as we might recognise it today, started to take its shape with the principles of disaster prevention in mind. With a desire to completely eliminate the lingering stench of the Warring States period and transform the militaristic government into a civil one, a culture of creativity was industrialised. The merchant class grew, and the city leaders looked to its people to restore the health of the city. Less savoury forms of entertainment were strictly controlled and healthier forms of recreation were encouraged, creating the iconic cherry blossom parks and orchards of peach trees to be enjoyed by the people. During the Tempo era of 1841 to 1843, for a short period there was a campaign to restore Edo as the centre of government, and a law was enforced that sent young Edo people who sought pleasure without a job to return to their hometowns to work the land. This was a period of enforced fiscal and cultural austerity, with regulations enforced against dancing and the performing arts. The 25 miles around Edo was under the strict control of the shogunate to purify the functions of Edo. This was met with fierce opposition of feudal lords, with one Toyoma Kenshiro expressing that Edo is going to fall apart if this kind of government administration continues. Mizuno responded with derision, stating that is what I'm hoping for. Toyoma used his influence to hit back, and Mizuno eventually fell from power. It was in this period that a culture of caring for the elderly was established. State-run nursing homes were established, and Edo entered a period of urban planning for commoners, based on the wisdom that changing the living environment will influence changes to people's attitudes. But, as the saying goes in Japan, as pointed out by Domon Fuyugi in his writings on the topic, where water changes its shape to fit in its container, water also changes the shape of its container. And that's a rather poetic place to end today's episode. I really hope you enjoyed it. I think this might have been one of my favourite episodes to write. Not only am I obsessed with Japan and its culture, I really enjoyed learning about how the construction of Edo and its evolution into Tokyo was done with the people and peace in mind. If you have any thoughts, please let me know in the comments and subscribe for more. I bring out new episodes every Tuesday. Goodbye.